Greetings to everybody out there in the No DQ galaxy. Welcome to No DQ&A video, episode number 1135 here on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel, youtube.com/AaronRift, Let's get to your questions from twitter.com/AaronRift using the hashtag PAIV. Got this question here from Daza 2006, I should say. Would you like to see 1990 Undertaker in his look versus 1997 Kane look at a WrestleMania match and a double retirement match? That's a really interesting concept. I would not mind that, actually. I would be okay with Undertaker and Kane as the Undertaker's last match. Now, granted, I'm not sure it would be all that good from a technical standpoint, but if it was at WrestleMania, 80,000 people, I think it could have like that Hogan versus Rock vibe to it with the crowd, and it would be more about the characters than the actual performance in the ring technically. I would like that, and I think it would be a lot of fun nostalgia. Double retirement? I mean, some would argue that Undertaker should get his own final match, his own send-off, and not do a double retirement. But when was the last time we have seen a double retirement match in wrestling? Like, that would be awesome. I would like that. I think that would be a good way for Kane to go out for sure, to have a match with The Undertaker, and they both go out together. But I could see the criticism of it also. What do you guys think of it? Leave a comment and let me know. This question comes from the General, Jerry Slaughter. Make sure you check out Jerry along with the NX team over at NoDQ.com/NXT. Do you think at some point a new version of DX or the Nation of Domination will surface in the WWE? Probably not, especially the Nation of Domination. I just think with that faction, it worked for the 90s, but now I could see people saying this is racist to throw all the African Americans into one faction, although the original Nation of Domination had Crush in it. DX, I mean, I don't think it's a really good idea personally, because DX, they had their own legacy, and no matter who you put in a new faction, there's always going to be the comparisons to the original DX. It's like doing a movie remake when it's not really necessary. I think the idea of using the name DX, I think the expectations would be too high. And if somebody out there has the level of talent that rivals Shawn Michaels and Triple H, why use the DX name in the first place? And if they're lower card guys, lower tier guys doing it, then it just comes off as desperation. So I do not think we will see a recreation of either of those factions. This question comes from TJS, longtime NoDQ.com supporter and contributor. He says, Undertaker was 49 years old at WrestleMania 30. That was one of his worst matches. Goldberg was 49 during his 2016 run. Awful. Chris Jericho is currently 49 years old and is arguably in his prime. Why does Y2J seem to improve with age while others get worse? I think in the ring, Jericho is not nearly as good as he was. I think with Jericho, what keeps him fresh is the fact that he's always evolving his character. Undertaker is more or less the Undertaker that he was 10 years ago. He hasn't really changed much. Undertaker has evolved the character over the years, but as a special attraction, Undertaker really doesn't need to be doing these significant character makeovers. And same thing with Goldberg. Goldberg is a nostalgia act. So there's really no point in changing what Goldberg was. When Goldberg comes back, fans want to see classic Goldberg. They want the nostalgia. With Jericho, Jericho doesn't want to be a nostalgia act. And I think that's the key here. Jericho is on TV every week, so because of that, he cannot be a nostalgia act. He has to keep his act fresh by changing his character and doing something different, whether it's his music or the way he looks or his finishing move. Jericho's always doing something different so he doesn't rely on nostalgia like Undertaker and Goldberg. This question comes from Miguel Ortiz. He says, do you think Adam Cole, baby, will go down as the greatest superstar in NXT history when he's done there? It's quite possible. I think it depends on how much longer Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa stay there. One could argue that Ciampa and Gargano, the two of them, they've been the focus of NXT now for the better part of 4 years, going on 5 years. With Cole, he's been there not quite as long, but he's made a huge impact. He's been the longest NXT World Champion. I think it just depends on who's there the longest, but sometimes longevity isn't the only criteria. It also matters on what you've accomplished. Ciampa has accomplished a lot. I would probably go with Ciampa right now. Things are always subject to change, but when you look at Ciampa's body of work as champion, I think the only thing that hurt him was being injured. That's the only thing that affected his run in NXT, being out of action and that stalling his momentum. So I love the fact that Ciampa has been able to go back and forth between heel and face. And Gargano's doing great as a heel right now. His story is still being written. So right now, I think the jury is out. But certainly those three guys, I think all three of them have a serious argument for being the greatest superstar in NXT history. This question comes from Oscar, a.k.a. Oofman Rules, longtime NoDQ visitor and all-around great guy. I've met him before. He says, if, and this is a big if, WWE promised to donate all the proceeds of a really good Owen Hart Best of DVD and Blu-ray to the Owen Hart Foundation, would Martha agree to it like she did with Pro Wrestling Tees? You would have to ask her directly, but I sense the answer is no. I think she just doesn't want to work with WWE in any capacity. Even if the money was going to the Owen Hart Foundation, I do not think she wants Owen Hart to be honored by the company that accidentally took his life. I just think that that's her stance and she's sticking with it. Her son doesn't want it to happen either. I do not think there's really anything that WWE can do or anybody can say to get Martha to change her mind. Now, could she change her mind one day? Could Oj change his mind? Anything's possible, but let's be real here. It's been 20 years now, 21 years since Owen Hart passed away, and Martha has stayed firm with not wanting Owen to be honored by WWE in any way. I don't think it's going to happen. If it was, I think it would have happened by now. This question comes from Bayside High 2020. With such companies as the UFC and MLB going to be doing shows with fans in Arizona, how long before you see WWE going to Arizona to possibly get some revenue back? Whenever the time comes that WWE can start running shows with fans again, I think it will be a slow process. It's not going to be like WWE is going to fly out to Arizona or Oklahoma or California. I think WWE will start in Florida because that is where the Performance Center is. That's where many of the wrestlers live in Florida. And I think WWE will want to play it as safe as possible. The thing about going to Arizona is you have to fly everybody there. Like I said, many talents live in Florida already, so they could drive to an arena, whether it's in Tampa or Orlando or Miami. They can drive and not have to fly halfway across the country to do a show. The more flying you do, the more people are put at risk. So I think that eventually WWE will start going out into other areas, but I think it's going to be a slow process, and I think that they will run in Florida first before they start going to places like Arizona. So maybe by the end of the year, if I had to make a prediction right now, but this stuff is very difficult to predict because you just don't know. Day to day, things change. You have to take it one day at a time, and you just don't know what's going to happen and how long it's going to take for things to start getting back to normal. This question comes from Sean. Hey Aaron, longtime asker of the channel. Do you think that there is a chance Sting winds up with All Elite Wrestling, or those are just ways of him trying to get to WWE to let him have his Undertaker match? Well, there was the rumor about Sting showing up at AEW's Double or Nothing pay-per-view, and he did not appear. I have seen rumors and speculation about, is this thing with Sting a swerve by WWE? Could we see Undertaker versus Sting at some point? I think it's too late, honestly, and I just don't know if these two should be wrestling against each other when each guy needs the other one to carry the match. It should have happened a decade ago, and I think the ship has sailed with it. But as I mentioned with the previous question, Kane and Undertaker at WrestleMania, the fans would make that match. Like Hogan and Rock, it would be the atmosphere that would carry the match. So you could argue that maybe Undertaker and Sting could go out there at WrestleMania and the crowd heat alone, the atmosphere, could make the match memorable with them doing limited spots against each other. Maybe it could work, but is it worth the risk for both guys? Not just Undertaker, but Sting as well. That I don't know. I think it might be best to leave that as a fantasy match. I know people want to see it, but I think there are other options out there. Undertaker versus AJ Styles. There's a few matches Undertaker could do that I think would be better ideas. Undertaker and Sting, yes, at one time that would have been a great idea, but now not so sure. This question comes from Mitch. Thank you, Mitch. He says, what do you guys think about Jim Cornette and his words about Becky Lynch and her pregnancy? Oh, man. So Jim Cornette, we all know he's a very opinionated guy. He will say what is on his mind, and he doesn't care what anybody thinks. He's not afraid to be controversial. My take on Jim Cornette is he knows how to play the game. He knows that if he says something offensive, somebody's going to respond. Whoever he's talking about, they will probably bite. They will take the bait. Jim Cornette, he's like a troll. He's going to say things because he knows it will get somebody upset and it will generate publicity for him. He knows sites like NoDQ.com will cover what he says. And it happens because I'm running a business and Jim Cornette content on NoDQ.com brings me traffic. So it is what it is. Cornette knows what to do to get his name out there, to keep him relevant in the wrestling world. And he knows that people will take the bait. He knows the fans will get worked up. People will side with him. People will call him out. Wrestlers will respond. Dana Brooke responded to him. Seth Rollins responded on Becky Lynch's behalf. And Cornette stays in the headlines. I think it's just Cornette knowing how to play the game. This question comes from Fahad. Is WWE up for sale? I've heard rumors. There has been talk about a major company like ESPN or Disney buying WWE, and I would not put too much stock into that. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I think as long as Vince McMahon is alive, he is not going to sell his baby WWE is his life's work. Vince does not sleep. Vince lives and breathes WWE. This has been Vince's life project since he was a very young man working for his father. This is what he built. It is his life. I just don't see Vince giving it up. As long as he can continue to do his job in some capacity, I think Vince will continue to run things and not sell it. Now, of course, there's a possibility of a sale and Vince could still be a player, but I just don't see Vince doing it. I really don't. Now, once Vince is out of the picture, will Triple H consider selling it to ESPN if the money is right? Anything's possible. I will not rule it out. Disney seems weird. Disney buying WWE, I just don't think that's a good fit. WWE, professional wrestling is an edgy product, or at least it should be. People complained about the PG era of WWE, and I like wrestling when it's violent. Is Disney really going to allow that kind of violence? Maybe they would to some degree, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that would be the best idea for the wrestling business, for Disney to get involved. But then again, Disney tends to buy out everything, and they may own every entertainment entity before it's all said and done. You just don't know. But I would say for the time being, highly unlikely in all likelihood. That'll wrap things up for this edition of No DQ&A video. Thank you all for watching. As you do, if you're new, make sure you guys subscribe, turn on the notifications to get updates, and if you've been watching for a while and you would like to support the website, tell a friend. That's all you got to do. That helps a lot. Just spread the word, share a link to this video, and stay tuned for more. I'll see you guys next time.